Welcome back to Identiverse 2024. We are here streaming live from Las Vegas. That's right, we're streaming this all live. So wherever you're watching, be sure to drop in the comments, drop in the chat, or even if you're watching the replay, still drop in the comments, give us a like, and drop into the chat with us. We have an exciting time because we're here with identity leaders. And with me, my guest is Roni Bliss. Roni is Regional Sales Manager at HID, a company that everybody has heard of and probably use. Most importantly, Roni, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
It is great to have you. I'm always excited to speak to sales managers because I feel like there's so much that you can learn from sales managers because they're the trusted advisor for prospects and companies that are changing the landscape and changing the world with identity. Tell us a little bit about how you got into cybersecurity sales and what are some of the typical responsibilities for someone that's a sales manager at HID?
Yeah, so I guess I got my start really from the Yellow Pages, which seems like a kind of long way to go.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Yellow Pages, of course, were dying, and they were moving into the digital space. So started getting into websites and digital marketing, and along with websites came cybersecurity. And I worked for several other vendors, and I actually had a customer ask me what I knew about HID cybersecurity products, and I was like, I don't know anything about it. So I went kind of down a rabbit hole, and the more I learned, the more excited I got about it. So I actually reached out to HID, and I was like, I want to work for you guys. I like what you're doing. Hire me, and here I am.
Love that. That is awesome that you found it through the Yellow Pages and worked your way in. When you think of HID, when you hear HID or even see it on those physical cards, you think of physical security, but it goes way beyond that. So describe, some of the other areas that HID helps support customers in.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody knows HID from our cards and card readers. We're a global leader for physical access management. And so now it's time for us to be a global leader for identity access management.
Yes.
Here at this show, we're representing two of our business units. One is PKI-as-a-Service, and the other one is our credential management solutions. So with PKI-as-a-Service, it's for companies who have just lost control and visibility of their internal certificate authorities, and they're looking for a little bit of help with that, maybe some automation to reduce some of the manual processes, and maybe they also need a single pane of glass for not only their internal private certificates, but also their external certificates. And with SSL certificates, there's a lot of talk about maybe 90-day validity periods coming around. So having some automation for those as well really helps out our organizations quite a bit.
So right before we hit record on this session, you were telling me how HID is flipping certificates on its head. So, describe, how are you all looking at certificates? We're talking about one-to-one relationships, how we viewed certificates in the past, but it's a different paradigm for you all.
Yes, absolutely. So with protecting a network, you'll often use certificates for authentication and encryption for your web servers and web applications, and also for your devices, machines, workstations. But we also provide user certificates, and these user certificates are identifying and authenticating a person rather than a machine or a server. So that person can then take their certificate and put it on any of the devices that they're going to be using to access company resources. And then with our credential management solution, which integrates with our PKI-as-a-Service, those same certificates could also be put on a FIDO token or a smart card.
Okay, I see. And, you mentioned PKI-as-a-Service. Who are you targeting? Who are you hoping to help with onboarding that? And also talk a little bit about that service as well.
Yeah, so with organizations that are trying to track their certificates on an Excel spreadsheet and they're losing track of who owns that certificate, and maybe it's coming up for expiration, and you have IT teams that are trying to reach out to the person that would be responsible for this certificate, and that person's no longer with the company. So who's the new person? It can get a little bit out of control, and then you also have rogue dev teams that are just issuing certificates left and right, and they might not even know that the spreadsheet even exists to record the certificate on. So it can very, very quickly get out of control, where our solution, we're going to host the root CA in our secure data center offline. It's available to come online 24/7, so we consider it to be nearly offline. And then the issuing CA is available in our cloud-based portal. It can be manually deployed or it can be automated through several of our integrations. So the entire certificate lifecycle can be automated, but you get complete visibility and control over those certificates. And if they're automated, you don't have to worry about who the owner of the certificate is.
So I'm not sure if you saw, but I was like cringing a little bit when you mentioned spreadsheets, because in cybersecurity, we know that. We know spreadsheets, like we use it for access management too much, certificate management too much. So it's really cool that, you all understand that pain and are trying to solve for it. Another piece that I hear over and over again is knowing which use cases to solve for. So how do you all support organizations looking at all the use cases and saying, I don't know which one to start with?
Yeah, so we have a pretty simplified solution where we know the use cases, right? We deal with them every day. So we have pre-built templates already in place that can handle all the common use cases. So if it's a user certificate, if it's a device certificate, client certificate, if they're using Active Directory and Microsoft CA, we know those common pain points and use cases, so we can start with those. But within our certificate templates and our policies, everything is also customizable. So while it's simplified, it's extremely flexible.
When you think of identity, you want that simplification. You want a product that's simple, but you also want a product that can do complex things. I'm sure you hear that from some of your prospects that you speak to, where they have ideas, but then maybe they have concerns that, maybe you can't support us in the way that we need. How do you respond to that, and how do you also uplift your customers that have that reservation?
Yeah, so that's the beautiful thing about PKI-as-a-Service, right? You're not just buying a piece of software, install it, never talk to us again.
Yeah.
We're there through the onboarding process, through implementation, whether you want to do that in phases or all at once, and then we provide that ongoing support and configuration. So if a new use case pops up, and rather than spending hours online trying to research it and figure out how do I configure the certificate for this specific use case, you just give us a call, and within a few minutes, we have it all sorted out for you.
Oh, lovely. What are the most common use cases that you see prospects and customers want to go after and tackle?
Yeah, so the most common ones are server, web applications, web servers, and device certificates, and then the user certificates. So typically they're using a MDM like Microsoft Intune, and they want to integrate via a SCEP protocol to automatically deploy those certificates through the MDM into all the various endpoints.
One thing that I love about this world of cybersecurity and identity and access management is it's all about learning. When I first got into my career, it was all about Windows Active Directory. And now things have changed quite a bit, and we're always learning. We're always kind of picking things up. So, what are you seeing as the future for, HID and the world of identity?
Yeah, well, definitely everything seems to be moving to the cloud. A lot of companies are migrating the services just because they're less capital expense, they're more scalable, and oftentimes end up being less costly. So that's the main thing that we see, is that there's several companies that were managing their PKI on-prem, and now they just want to migrate everything to the cloud, and that's our specialty.
Yeah. When I look at the future, I also think of something like AI. And then when I think beyond that, I think of quantum. We're not quite there yet like we are with AI, but I've heard that one hesitation that organizations and leaders have is if quantum comes out, then all of our practices are going to be nullified. Our encryption is not going to work as we expect. Are you all thinking about the future in that way?
Yes, we're actually working with several agencies, standards, best practices. We're keeping up with what NIST is publishing. And again, that's the beautiful part about having a service, is that you don't have to be an expert on quantum computing. You don't have to keep up with it, because we're the experts and we're keeping it up for you. And when that time comes that the standards change and the cryptography changes to keep up with quantum computing, we'll already be there.
Yeah. I love it when I see the green light go off in someone's mind, where something clicks into place. And, going back to the learning mindset, I would imagine that you are helping instruct and bring awareness to the people that you speak to. What is typically that aha moment for them to, see something like PKI as a service and want to move forward with it?
I think it's Well, it's different depending on who we're talking to, right? You
For
know,
sure.
so if we're talking to the customer that's actually working with the certificates and they're having to go through those mundane manual processes, then it's definitely the automation. They love knowing that this thing, once we get it all set up and configured, is just going to go.
Yeah.
And they don't have to worry about it anymore. They get that peace of mind.
Right.
Just knowing that all their certificate bases are covered. For our CIOs or CISOs, the ones that have to deal with the budgets, our solution is a flat fee. So they don't have to worry about any overages or unexpected expenses.
Yeah.
So that's the part that's the light bulb for them. They're like, oh, I can just work it into my budget and not have to worry about it popping up later in the year.
Yeah.
So it's peace of mind for them as well. Like they know that their employees have the automation that they've been asking for. They've got the peace of mind with the budget. Security's taken care of. So it definitely helps in that regard.
When you were speaking about the use cases, you were saying that many organizations want to move to the cloud. I think it's amazing to do that because of all the productivity and collaboration opportunities. But when you move to the cloud, you typically get locked in a little bit with your vendor. Sometimes it's a good thing because if you're going to make an investment, awesome. But sometimes it's could be frustrating. So, how are you all helping manage that frustration or concern for your target audience?
Yeah, so that was actually one of the main things that I learned about HID that made me want to go work for them.
Is what? The lack of vendor lock-in?
The lack of vendor lock-in,
Okay.
yeah. So our solution takes advantage of a lot of open source technology that's already readily available in our customers' environments. So once that configuration is set up, if they ever decide to part ways with us for whatever reason, it could all just be simply redirected to a new certificate authority. So with our competitors, they want to install as much pre-built integrations and software as possible into the network to make it sticky.
Yeah.
But it only works with their services. So if you ever decide to part ways, best practices, you've got to rip it all out and replace it with something new. And you have that kind of conundrum, like, do I have the time and resources to go through this process to replace this vendor at this moment, or do I just adhere to their demands, which is usually price increases?
Love that. And I love the fact that, you all are thinking about the customer in that light, because customers are the path for success, also the path to make sure we see a secure future. And when I look at having a secure future, I think people got to be at this event, Identiverse. It's special. There's a lot of leaders here, a lot of cybersecurity vendors like yourself. For anyone that isn't able to attend but is hoping to, get one of those key insights or key takeaways, what has been yours so far this event?
I would say consolidation. Seems like a lot of companies are looking to have one vendor that can provide more services rather than having, several different vendors, have it be more specified.
Yep.
So the more consolidation you can do with one vendor, the better.
Love that. So if you haven't done so already, clearly you got to check out PKI-as-a-Service. You can learn more about HID and PKI-as-a-Service by visiting securityweekly.com/HID IDV. So be sure to check them out. Also be sure to stay up to date with Roni. Roni, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me and helping me learn more about what you all do and PKI as a service. With that, we will see everyone next time.